So today I want to talk a little bit about my philosophy when I design game books. I'd like to think of my games mostly as game books rather than interactive fiction. So what I like to do when I create a game is to actually create a game system in which the player chooses sets of attributes that can be modified as you go along the game, and then the game procedure dictates whether he or she can pass a certain test or not. I It might come as a surprise to many people listening to this, but I often don't know my games very well. I create the games, yes. I introduce a certain logic into them, and that logic dictates the outcomes. This means that although I know, of course, every part of the game, I don't necessarily know what is the best way to play my own games. And I've often been surprised by players who've told me actually this or that is possible when I thought actually it wouldn't be possible. But if you're creating a certain, for example, superhero, then you can follow a path in the game that I thought would be very difficult. Now, the game mechanics that I created for the hero villain series are actually inspired by an old role-playing game called Marvel Superheroes. So if any of you get hold of this, you will see that there's quite a bit of similarity between the mechanics that I use in my game and this. Of course, they're not the same. I've changed them a bit to suit my own needs, and think I've improved them, or at least I've improved them to make them into a game book. Um, so, and to do that, I've actually incorporated many mechanics that you often see in choice script, choice of games, and other hosted games, and this includes the use of opposing pairs, personality stats, and etc. And the reason for this is to give the main character a personality and to have non-player characters interact with that main character based on how they perceive him or her. Now, one of the most important parts of this game is actually character creation. I think many readers comment that they enjoy this part, that it's some critics have even said that it seems almost more interesting than playing the game. Well, I would of course disagree with that, but anyway, it's a very important part of the game. And I'm deliberately making most of the heroes fairly static. That's what happens in most comic books, most superhero comic books. Superheroes don't normally change their power sets substantially. Yes, slightly they might improve or get better, or they might get harmed and lose some abilities, but generally speaking, they tend to be fairly static. And I wanted to create that sense within these games. So, yes, you can increase your knowledge of abilities, you can become better at, for example, your knowledge of laws or first aid, but if you are a superhero that has a certain, for example, that can project beams of fire, then you're not going to get the capability of then also working with ice later in the game. And this also brings me to the point of difficulty. I like to introduce different difficulty settings into my games, and the idea behind this is to give a challenge to people who to replay the game. So if you've played the game once and you found it easy, then you can try it in a more difficult setting. And at least, of course, some people want to build a character that is like Superman, and there is the option for you to do so. If you play in the easier difficulty levels, then your character tends to be almost invincible. However, most superheroes tend to have flaws or things that they cannot do. So the idea of this difficulty levels is that you can create less powerful heroes and see how they do in the game. The game has different paths. There's lots of side missions, there are many things that you can do, and not all heroes or villains will do well along all the paths. At least not in the high difficulty levels. So you can try essentially different builds and see what the result will be. And this difficulty level system is also a reason why the different abilities that you can choose can have different amount of points. So you can have a wide variety of superheroes or villains that you can play. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. If you would like me to make any other videos, please let me know what what you would like to listen to, and I will try to make them. Thanks.